I do not remember the cold. It is simply a state of being, an eternal constant, like the darkness that presses against my eyelids. I am folded, compacted, a thing of meat and wire stored in a steel womb. There is no thought, not in the way the living think. There is only the hum, a low, resonant vibration that is both sound and feeling, thrumming through the alloy of my cage, through the dense marrow of my bones, into the very core of what is left of my soul. It is the machine's slumber, the piece of the weapon in its rack. Then comes the prick, a needle, sharp and precise as a stiletto, pierces the flesh of my neck. It is a familiar violation, the herald of my purpose. With it comes the fire, not the clean flame of a pyre, but a crawling chemical burn that races through my veins like liquid lightning. It is the cocktail of rebirth, hyperzine, rage, slaught, a dozen other sanctified combat narcotics whose names are etched into my very cells. My heart, a lump of dense slab-like muscle thrice its natural size, hammers against my reinforced ribs, a war drum beating the rhythm of imminent slaughter. Nerves that have lain dormant for cycles scream into life, each one a filament of white-hot agony. The darkness behind my eyes shatters into a kaleidoscope of bloody light. This is the first sacrament, the awakening through pain. I am no longer stored, I am being primed, and with the pain, a phantom sensation, not of the needle, not of the fire in my blood, but of something else, something gentle. A memory splinter, sharp and unwelcome. It is the ghost of a weight in my hand, a delicate pressure against my fingertips. It is not the dense, brutal heft of the electro-flails fused to my forearms, their metal cool and dead against my skin. No, this phantom weight is light, balanced, warm with the heat of my own skin. A quill. The word appears unbidden, a fossil unearthed by the seismic shock of the stimulants. Quill. It smells of ink and dried blood from a pricked finger. I feel the ghost of fine vellum beneath my other hand, smoother than the scarred, vat-grown flesh that now covers me. A whisper echoes in the screaming cacophony of my mind, a voice that might have once been mine. The beauty of the Emperor's form, rendered in blessed guilt. The memory is a spark of impossible light in the roaring furnace of my new consciousness, and the furnace rages against it, seeking to consume it. My programming, the sinner's catechism, surges to the fore. My flesh is a vessel for his wrath. My mind is a tool for his vengeance. My past is the sin for which I atone. The words are not mine, but they are me. They are the iron cage built around the last flickering candle of who I was. The memory of the quill is crushed, the phantom sensation drowned in a fresh wave of agony, as nutrient paste and pacifier solution is pumped directly into my stomach. The pain is a blessing. The pain is focus. The pain burns away the sin of thought. The hum changes its pitch, a grating shriek of protesting metal, and my crypt lurches sideways. I am being moved. Transport. My limbs, locked in their braces, strain against the restraints. The newly awakened muscles screaming for release, for the holy act of rending and tearing. Through the thick plasteel of my viewport, I see only blurs of red and black. The robes of Ministorum priests, the devotional banners of the faithful. Their chants leak through the hull, a low bestial roar that my own throat aches to join. It is the sound of a world hungry for blood, a congregation desperate for a miracle of violence. They are preparing the stage, and I am the principal player in their gory theater. They call this a witch hunt, a purge. To me, it has no name. It is simply the harvest, the purpose for which I was unmade and remade. The holy litanies of hatred are piped directly into my auditory implants now. A chorus of augmented priests screaming verses of vengeance and purgation. Let the heretic know the price of doubt. Let the unclean feel the fire of purity. Let the mutant taste the steel of righteousness. My jaw cracks as I clench it, the teeth filed to sharp points grinding together. The rage is not an emotion. It is a physical presence, a red tide rising behind my eyes, drowning everything. But the smells betray the programming. Amidst the sterile tang of recycled air and the oily scent of weapons-grade unguents, a new aroma seeps into my cell. Incense. Not the cheap, mass-produced incense of a common imperial shrine, but the heavy, opulent fragrance of high ritual censer smoke. It is thick with myrrh and sanctified dust, a scent meant to inspire awe and terror in equal measure. And it triggers another shard of the past to pierce the veil. This one is sharper, more complete. I see a hall, not a steel corridor, a hall of marble and gold. Light, not from lumen strips, but from a vast rose window of stained glass, turning the air into... The catechism scrolls across the inside of my eyelids in letters of fire. To question is to doubt. To doubt is to falter. To falter is to betray. Betrayal is the path to damnation. The implanted kill switches in my nervous system activate, sending jolts of pure torment through my body, a correction for my deviation. I scream, a raw, wordless sound of animal fury, thrashing against my bonds until the metal groans and my own skin tears on the bolts. The red tide of rage returns, stronger now, a cleansing flood. It scours the memory of the marble hall, of the heavy book, of the holy man's cold smile. It leaves only the need, the burning, all-consuming, emperor-given need to atone, to pour out my sin upon the bodies of his enemies until I am empty, until I am scoured clean by the blood of others. The transport shudders to a final, violent halt. A deep klaxon blares, the sound of judgment. Before me, the heavy assault door of my crypt begins to hiss, pressurized gas escaping like a dying breath. A single bloody light illuminates my cramped confines, bathing my pale, scarred flesh in the color of slaughter. The final dose is administered, a direct injection into my heart. The world dissolves into a singular, pulsing imperative. Kill. The restraints snap open. The door groans, begins to lower. And in the last sliver of a second before the beast is unleashed, one fragment of the forgotten man remains, a single, terrified question that echoes in the roaring silence of my soul. What was my sin? The door does not open. It ceases to exist. It slams down into the grime-caked flagstones of the plaza, a slab of steel that becomes my bridge into a world of screaming. And I am born into it. My first breath is not air, but a searing cocktail of cordite, ozone, and vaporized blood. My first sight is not light, but the strobing, epileptic flash of La's fire against a sky choked with the black smoke of burning faith. My first feeling is the glorious, unrestrained freedom of my limbs. The pistons in my shoulders hiss as the electro-flails, my terrible hands, spin to life. A crown of blue-white energy crackles around the adamantium cables, and the air hums with a sound that promises to unmake flesh. The crowd before me is a tapestry of terror. Pilgrims, guardsmen, robed supplicants. Their faces are masks of disbelief, mouths open in prayers that are swallowed by the din. They are the field, ripe for the scythe. My programming, the pure and holy scripture of my purpose, offers a single, beatific word: reap. And so I do. I surge forward, a hurricane of meat and metal, my bare feet slapping against stone, slick with something wet. A man in the gaudy silks of a local Chartist master raises a las pistol, his hand trembling. The weapon is a child's toy. I do not even register the shot, a fleeting warmth against my chem-hardened skin. My left flail strikes him. The cables are a blur, the energized tips connecting with his chest. For a microsecond, his fine silk jacket illuminates from within, tracing the path of his skeleton in a ghastly X-ray of light. Then he explodes, not in a clean burst, but in a wet detonation of cooked meat and superheated bone. The sight, the smell, the percussive impact against my body. It is a symphony of absolution. The red tide of rage is no longer contained within my skull. It is the world itself, and I am its master. I plunge into the heart of the crowd, an angel of debt come to collect. Each swing of my arms is a prayer. Each scream I elicit is a hymn. The flails are extensions of my will, dancing a ballet of annihilation. They coil around necks and snap spines. They lash out and turn torsos into steaming ruins. They whip down and pulp skulls like overripe fruit. It is not a battle. It is an industrial process of disassembly. Pain is a distant echo. A stray projectile rips a furrow along my ribs, and the implanted drug sacks reply with a gush of painkillers and stimulants, turning the agony into a fresh surge of ecstatic strength. I laugh. a sound like rocks grinding in a quarry, the sound torn from a throat that has forgotten how to form words. I am the Emperor's judgment. I am the living embodiment of atonement. I am standing over the shattered form of a woman, her simple drab robes identifying her as a lay sister of some minor shrine order. My flail is embedded in the stone where her head used to be, and in the momentary stillness, as I wrench the weapon free, another splinter of memory pierces the red fog. A different woman, her face framed by a simple wimple, her hands placing a cup of hot recaf on a desk cluttered with scrolls. A gentle voice. Logister, you will wear your eyes to dust. The Saint's Chronicle can wait for the morning light. I remember the warmth of the cup, the kindness in her eyes. I remember looking up from my work, the vellum glowing under the lumen orb, and feeling a moment of peace, a fragile sensation of belonging. This memory is a poison. It suggests a life before the sin, a life of quiet purpose that makes this glorious violence feel hollow. Heretic! The pacifier priest's mental rebuke is a physical blow. 1,000 needles of ice lance through my brain, attempting to cauterize the wound of the past. The sinner's catechism floods my consciousness. There was no life before the sin. There was only the path to it. All that came before was prelude to damnation. The image of the kind woman is burned away, replaced by the howling feedback of my implants. The rage returns, blessedly pure, and I turn my attention to a knot of planetary militia cowering behind an overturned statuary. My purpose is restored. I am a storm, a force of nature, an act of a wrathful god. I tear through their ranks, their disciplined lass fire a pointless hail against my onslaught. I feel their bayonets scrape and break against my armored torso. I savor the frantic, desperate terror in their eyes as my flails find them. I am lost in the bloody work for an eternity that might be minutes. The plaza is no longer a place of worship. It is my abattoir, a canvas upon which I paint my redemption in viscera and gore. And then I see it. My head snaps up, drawn by an instinct deeper than programming. High above the chaos, on the grand balcony of the Cardinal's Basilica, stands a command cadre. Priests, confessors, stern-faced sisters of battle, forming a protective cordon. But my eyes, my vat-grown, target reticule-enhanced eyes, see only one man. He stands at the center, draped in robes of crimson and gold, his pectoral aquila a blaze of reflected light from the fires below. His face is pale, patrician, his expression a mask of sanctimonious satisfaction as he watches the purge unfold. It is him, the man from the hall of stained glass, the man with the smile that did not reach his eyes, the holy man to whom I brought my discovery, my proof of what? The memory is a gaping hole, but the face that borders it is now terrifyingly clear. Cardinal Antonius. The world is not slow, it shatters. The roar of the battle, the screams of the dying, the crackle of my own weapons, it all collapses into a single piercing tone. The sound of a violin string snapping in the void. The faces of the heretics around me become blurred, inconsequential smudges. The combat drug still pumped through my veins, but the rage is no longer a diffuse, all-consuming fire. It has found a lens, It has been focused into a single, white-hot beam of energy directed at that one man on that balcony. The sinner's catechism scrolling across my vision flickers and corrupts. The holy text dissolves into garbage data, replaced by a single, emergent imperative. It is not a command from a priest or a line of code. It is a truth that blossoms from the deepest, most ruined part of my soul. He is the sin. The memory connected to him is still shrouded, a truth wrapped in layers of agony and chemical suppression. But the emotional charge is overwhelming. Betrayal, injustice, a cold, calculated destruction of a life that was mine. He did this to me. He took the quill from my hand and replaced it with these blood-drenched chains. He stood in a hall of light and cast me into this endless darkness. My purpose, once so simple to atone, is suddenly irrevocably complex. Atonement is a lie. This is not redemption. This is revenge. Target deviation detected, screams a text crawl from my implants. Corrective action initiated. A wave of pure, debilitating agony erupts from the base of my spine. A punishment from the pacifier priests designed to force me back into the designated kill zone. In the past, this pain has been a clarifying fire. Now it is merely fuel. I look at the face on the balcony, and the agony becomes a focusing agent. I welcome it. I feed on it. My body convulses, not in submission, but in renewed fury. I turn away from the half-slaughtered militia squad. I ignore the fresh wave of cultists spilling from a side chapel. They are nothing. They are noise. There is only the signal. There, on the balcony. He sees me. I know he does. Across the blood-soaked expanse, our eyes meet. For a moment, I see a flicker of confusion on his face, then a dawning horror of recognition. He knows the beast staring up at him was once a man who knew his secrets. I begin to move. My pace is no longer the loping, bestial gait of the berserker. It is the relentless, ground-eating stride of a predator that has scented its true prey. I crash through the battle lines, a rogue comet of flesh and steel. Zealots and heretics alike scramble to get out of my way. I am no longer part of the purge. I am a disruption, an anomaly, a missile that has slipped its leash and chosen its own target. The Cardinal's Guard reacts. Two sisters of battle, their white and black armor stark against the carnage, leap from the balcony's edge, their jump packs firing in a controlled burst. They land before me, bolters raised, creating a wall of faith and ceramite between me and the basilica steps. They are magnificent, terrifying, the pinnacle of devotion. And they are in my way. One opens fire, her bolt gun roaring. The explosive shells detonate against my chest and shoulders, each one a hammer blow that would pulverize a lesser being. I stagger, my vision swimming in a sea of red alerts and pain notifications. My flesh is torn, my bones fractured, but the rage, this new and perfect rage, cares for none of it. I surge forward through the storm of explosions and swing a flail in a wide horizontal arc. She is too fast. She ducks under it, her power sword humming to life. The other sister charges, a chainsword screaming its hunger. I am caught between them. I am wounded. I am isolated. I am free. The chainsword bites deep into my thigh, its diamond-hard teeth chewing through muscle and grating against my femur. The pain is exquisite, a clarifying blast that burns away the last vestiges of the pacifier hymns whispering in my implants. I roar, a sound of pure, undiluted hatred, and pivot on my good leg, using the sister's own weapon as an anchor. My other flail, the one that missed, whips back around with impossible speed. It catches the charging sister across her helmet. The energized cables shear through the ceramite and the skull beneath. Her engine of faith is silenced forever. The first sister, the one with the power sword, screams in fury and thrusts her blade towards my heart. I do not have time to dodge, I can only act. I release my grip on my flail, letting it hang limp from its chains, and catch her sword arm with my now free hand. My augmented fingers, designed to crush plasteel, clamp down on her gauntlet. I hear the crunch of her bones. The blue field of her power sword gutters and dies, inches from my chest. Her helmeted face is close to mine now, and through the vox grill, I hear her gasp of shock and pain. Her faith is absolute, but my sin is older, deeper. I lean in, the filed points of my teeth bared in a rictus grin, and with my entire body, I heave her, armor and all, off her feet. I throw her into the grand stone steps of the basilica, a broken doll in holy armor. The way is clear. The steps rise before me, a blood-spattered stairway to my own personal damnation or deliverance. At the top, framed by the soaring archway of the basilica entrance, Antonius stands, his face a perfect portrait of disbelief and terror. The guards are scrambling, but they are too slow. I have broken his holy cordon. I am coming for him. And as I take the first step, my mangled legs screaming, my body a ruin of fresh wounds, I feel a ghost of a memory return, not as a splinter, but as a complete thought, a piece of the puzzle sliding into place. The cardinal's voice, quiet and cold in that sunlit hall of records. Your discovery, Legister, is unfortunate. The foundation of this world's faith is built upon a lie I have spent my life protecting, a lie far more important than your life. I take another step. He did not just condemn me, he condemned the truth. My sin was not heresy. My sin was knowledge, and my atonement will be his. Each step is a century of pilgrimage. My ruined leg, a lattice of shattered bone and torn sinew, held together by stubborn faith and chemical fury, drags behind me, carving a wet furrow in the bloody marble. The pain is a constant, screaming siren in my mind, but it is no longer the voice of a priest. It is my own. It is the price of this ascent, and I pay it gladly. The pacifier implants fire desperately, dumping cascades of neural inhibitors into my spine, trying to blanket me in the familiar, mindless peace of obedience. I fight them. For the first time, I am aware of the systems within me, the ghostly machine that commands the flesh, and I wage war against it. I focus on the cardinal's face, that icon of my damnation, and use my hatred as a shield against the seduction of programmed peace. He is backing away, stumbling into the cavernous maw of the basilica. His guards, a pathetic remnant of his authority, now form a desperate line before the great bronze doors. They are not sisters of battle. They are household troops in polished carapace armor. sacristans with ceremonial shock mauls, and 2 plump confessors whose hands tremble as they grip ornate power staves. Their terror is a perfume, more intoxicating than any combat stimulant. They shout at me, threats, prayers, curses. The words are meaningless static. I am deaf to anything but the frantic, terrified beating of the heart in the man they protect. The household guard raise their hell guns, the high-pitched whine of their power packs a familiar prelude to pain. The beams of concentrated energy lance out, stitching lines of fire across my chest and abdomen. My flesh blackens and boils. The stench of my own cooking meat fills the air. It is nothing. I have endured the apothecary's forge and the chirurgeon's blade. Their weapons are annoyances, not impediments. I do not even slow my pace. I raise my right flail, the adamantium cables spinning into a blur of silver death, and sweep it before me. The hellgun fire ceases as the arc of my weapon intersects with the men who produced it. The impact is a wet, percussive crunch. Carapace armor, flesh, and bone are shredded into a single, indistinguishable red mist. They do not even have time to scream. The 2 confessors stand their ground, their faces white with a mixture of fear and fanaticism. "In the Emperor's holy name, I condemn thee, soulless thing," one of them shrieks, thrusting his power staff forward. The crackling blue field of energy should disrupt my nervous system, send me into spasms. But my nervous system is already a war zone, a screaming chaos of conflicting signals. The staff's energy is simply one more voice in the choir of my agony. I grab the shaft of the weapon with my free hand. The power field scorches my palm, but my grip is absolute. I rip it from his hands, and with the same motion, I drive the butt of the staff into his throat. He falls, gurgling, his life spilling onto the sacred ground. The other confessor turns to flee, but my left flail is faster. The cables wrap around his waist, the energized tips biting deep. I pull. His body comes apart with the sound of tearing cloth. And then there is only him, Cardinal Antonius. He is backed against the great bronze doors of the Basilica Sanctum, his crimson and gold robes a vibrant splash of color in the gray stone archway. He has nowhere else to run. He watches me approach, my broken body leaving a trail of blood and ruin. And for the first time, the mask of sanctimony is gone. I see him as I saw him in that hall of light, a man clutching a secret, a man for whom faith is not a belief, but a tool of power, a man terrified of the truth. He raises a trembling hand, not in benediction, but in a pathetic gesture of warding. "Creature, you were given a holy purpose, a chance for redemption." His voice cracks, a pale imitation of the authority it once held. Redemption. The word is a joke, a lie he told to salve his own conscience as he signed my life away. The sinner's catechism flickers across my vision, a final, dying ghost of my programming. My past is the sin for which I atone. The lie is so clear now. My past was not the sin. My past was the victim of his sin. I reach the top of the stairs and stand before him. I am a monster of scarred flesh, dripping blood, trailing wires, my body a testament to his hypocrisy. He is just a man, old and afraid. The chattering of my flails slows. the blue corona of energy around them shrinking to a low hum. I want him to see this. I want him to understand. Logister, he whispers, the name a curse on his lips. I gave you a martyr's death and a warrior's rebirth. You should be grateful. That word, Logister, it resonates in the ruin of my mind, a single clear note that silences all the noise. It is who I was. It is the ghost he tried to exorcise with steel and chemicals. A memory, brighter and clearer than any before, floods my consciousness. I see the vellum page, my own hand writing in precise, elegant script. The words detail discrepancies in the founding charters of this world, the timeline of Saint Aspera's martyrdom and impossibility, a fiction crafted centuries after the fact to legitimize the Ecclesiarchy's claim to this planet and its tithes. I see myself presenting the folio to him, my heart filled with the naive pride of a scholar who has uncovered a great truth. And I see his smile, the cold smile of a predator. A lie far more important than your life. My left flail lashes out, not to kill, but to pin. The cables whip around his body, pressing him against the intricate bas-relief of the bronze doors. He cries out, a thin, reedy sound. The energized tips burn his fine robes and sear his flesh. He is trapped, crucified against the very iconography he used to build his power. I step closer until my face is inches from his. He can smell the cocktail of chemicals and burned meat that is my breath. I can see the utter, soul-deep terror in his eyes. This is not the clean death of a bolt shell or the glorious end in a firefight. This is an accounting. My right flail hangs limp. I am not a berserker anymore. The rage is gone, boiled away, leaving behind something colder and heavier. Justice. I reach up with my mangled right hand, the one that once held a quill, the one that still remembers the delicate weight of truth. My fingers, thick with scar tissue and grafted with power conduits, are clumsy, but they find his throat. I do not crush it, not yet. I just hold him. What was my sin? I ask. The words are a horror. They are the first I've spoken in an age. A rasping, grating sound, forced from a throat that has only known how to scream. My own voice is alien to me, the voice of a corpse. He stares, his mind unable to process that the beast before him can speak, can remember. My sin, I rasp again, my grip tightening, was that I could read. His eyes widen in final, horrified understanding. He knows that I know. He knows that his lie has come back to unmake him. My atonement is complete. Not the one he gave me, but my own. I have delivered the truth. And with a final convulsive clench, I crush his larynx and end his life. His body goes limp, held up only by the cables of my flail. The silence that follows is profound. The target is gone. The singular purpose that drove me up these steps, that held my broken body together, vanishes. And into that void, the pain returns. All of it. The torn leg, the burned flesh, the fractured bones, the 1,000 tiny agonies of a body pushed to destruction. My implants scream with warnings of catastrophic system failure. The drug sacks are empty, My heart, the great engine of my rage, begins to stutter, its rhythm faltering. I release the cardinal's body. It slumps to the ground, a pile of ruined silk and cooling meat. I take one more step, and then my legs give out. I collapse onto the cold marble, my head resting against the bronze doors. My vision blurs, the world fading to a gray haze. The sounds of the distant purge are like waves on a faraway shore. I do not remember the cold, I remember thinking, but I feel it now. A deep, final chill seeping into my bones. The last splinters of memory rise to the surface, no longer painful, but gentle, like dust motes dancing in a final ray of sun. The warmth of a recaf cup, the scent of old vellum, the quiet satisfaction of a line perfectly rendered, the face of a kind woman smiling. Her name was Elara. My name was Kalen. I was Kalen, a logister, a man who loved the truth. The ghost of a quill is in my hand, my final entry. The record is now complete.